You wonder how one of those kids shows up. Maybe they come in, you know, maybe vacuum packed in a can. Here's a girl with a, you know, ultrasound, and you can see what. There's a lot of problems when you start cloning kids. I mean, you can make mistakes and all. Anyway, you make fun of it, but it changes everything. Because again, you don't have the ethics, you don't have the rules, you don't have the laws, you don't have the education, you don't have nothing to. You got to build all of this. That's the new world we got to do. We have to build a new world that allows us to deal with. Yeah, this is just one of the little, you know. One of the things we've got to deal with is the possibility of living really long. Here's Aubrey de Grey, a guy I met in Dubai a couple of months ago. Aubrey de Grey is a really bright scientist from Cambridge University, and Aubrey de Grey says that aging is a function of cell degeneration, right? The cells degenerate, you age. You look funny. That's how, you know, that's how it works. And he says that there are 7 things that control cell degeneration, and we know how to deal with 5 of them, so there's only 2 left. And he thinks that in the next few years that he can solve the next 2 problems with it. And then what you can do is eliminate aging. So he says that current 60 years olds could live to be 200 years old. Golly, I mean, there's hope for some of us, right? What do you do? What do you do if people live 200 years old? I mean, every piece of our society, every system is built on us all kicking off at, you know, 70 or 80 or 90 or something, right? The economy, the educational system, the government, all of these kinds of things all have built into it this common age of human beings. So, I mean, if you live to be this age, this long, and you live into 70 or 80, and you get, what, a family and a half or a spouse, you know? How many do you get if you live that long? How many families, how many spouses, how many things? If you live this long and you have a productive life of about that much, what do you do if you live this long? What do you do with all of that time? I mean, this is a huge kind of problem for the government, because if you don't do this right, you got a bunch of old people that riot, you know, because they don't have, you got social instability from the aged, because, or the at least the old, because they don't, you got to do something. What you have to do is redefine work. I mean, that's pretty fundamental stuff. You got to go back to the essential nature of something that we're all involved in, and you have to redefine it. Because if you don't do that, then you don't have, in the economic system, doesn't make any sense out of it. It can't make sense out of any of this. You think this is all abstract, theoretical, funny British guys that look really weird that are, you know? No. Here, last year, genetically engineered super mouse stunned scientists. They took the same genetic code in the human and in the mouse, and they manipulated it in the mouse, and they get this modded mouse, right? Modified mouse that can run nonstop for 5 hours, lives longer, has more sex, doesn't get fat, and is very aggressive. Super. You think the Department of Defense isn't out there figuring out how in the world do we translate that gene and manipulate and get human beings as though we got soldiers that can run faster and be aggressive and all? I mean, we're on this edge of this amazing kind of transition into space that we just don't begin to understand, and it's very hard to deal with. You know, all of the problems in energy are not all the issues in energy aren't negative. I mean, we've got amazing kind of things that are happening. We've got bacteria that are eating cellulosic material like weeds and things and generating ethanol so that you don't have to go through the whole process of distillation with all the energy costs to produce alcohol. You've got fuel from coal-eating microbes. This is just from this morning. This morning they figured out, this is the front page of, you know, this company raised $76 million because they've got some microbes, little things that they can send down into a coal mine, and they eat up the coal and they make methane. They make natural gas, and then you can pump the gas out. I mean, who would have thunk? I mean, we got this image in our mind that you got to take mountains, over in West Virginia where I live, but take these mountain tops off and you pollute everything. No, maybe not. Maybe not at all. You've got inventions like these guys who've got this device that is something like, what was it, 26 times more effective? Oh, it's 10 to 15 times more effective than thermoelectric device. This is a deal where you put DC current in one way and it makes heat. You take it the other way and it cools. And so all you need to do is, instead of air conditioning system, where it's got all these pumps and compressors and evaporators and all this kind of stuff, some of the problems I've got with my, my system at home. No. You get to the place here where all you got is a bunch of these things, and you lay them up, and you run a battery one way, and it makes cool, and you run it the other way, and it heats. And you get rid of all of this mechanical stuff and all of the inefficiency and all of the kind of problems associated with it. Here's an extraordinary thing. Just last year, a couple of months ago, MIT came up with a way in which they can store solar energy. I mean, how can you do that? Well, they figure out how they can easily break down water into carbon, into hydrogen and oxygen, and they can store it that way, and then they can recombine it when they need it sometime later. I mean, all of these things that that we've assumed were impossible are now becoming possible. They're putting generators under the ocean in the tidal areas, so when the tide goes in and out, it generates water. You use the moon, right? You use the moon to make electricity. The moon comes around every year, every day, and it causes this, so why not do that? They're doing super deep drilling right now, going down to really hot, 500, 600, 700 degree rocks. And if you can do that, you can bring up steam, and you can drive turbines, steam turbines, and every coal-fired power plant is run by steam. And so you potentially have a way in which next to every coal-fired power plant, you could drill a deep well, you could get steam up, and you could get rid of using any kind of the coal and the other kind of things. It goes on forever. The heat goes on forever. You don't have to worry about it. And then there's this stuff, cold fusion. Cold fusion, if you know, is this notion that you can get more energy out than you can put in. And you've got here the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers talking about the U.S. Department of Energy gives a new hearing to this because they say it's really quite possible. And then you've got zero-point energy. The quantum physicists say that we're surrounded by this amazing amount of energy that's like radio waves, right? And it's just all over the place, throughout the universe. And there's, in a cubic centimeter in front of your head, in front of your face, there's more energy than all of the matter in the known universe. I mean, amazing amount of energy all around us. And you know what? This morning, the front page of I think it was Nature magazine, the Nature. It's either, Nature, the Nature journal. You know anything about science? You don't get any better than Science or Nature. Those are the top things. This is a cover story in Nature, and it says that they have experimentally verified the Casimir effect. And let me just tell you that they have now shown, and they've measured the pressure and the repulsion of that zero-point energy field. And what you've got now is you're sitting on the potential of something like the discovery of fire. Because if they can make this and turn this into being able to generate electricity or heat out of this thing, then what you've got is you just take the energy wherever you can. One derivative of this is that you build propulsion systems for spaceships that'll take you to the stars because you don't have to carry any fuel because you just get it wherever you are. And it's amazing kinds of things that this solves every problem we got in terms of energy, if in fact that happens. Problem is, does it come fast enough? Does that stuff come up before the other one leaves? By the way, if you're interested in any of this kind of stuff, we produce a newsletter every 2 weeks, and it's free. And we do, you know, institutional change and new realities and genetics and environment and all of these kinds of stuff. And if you just give me your card afterwards, I'll be happy to put you on our newsletter.